The holidays are a time of joy and happiness for everybody, right? Well, that's actually not the case. There's a lot of people that during this time of year are confronted with some very negative thoughts and very negative realizations about where they are in the world and why they are so unhappy. Today's videos, we're going to talk about some of the most common reasons why you aren't happy. The first thing we're going to talk about is stress and pressure from different aspects of our lives. Now, when I say stress and pressure, I want you to think about the different roles that you might have in your life. For example, what if you're a new mom? You're 30 years old. You have a son or daughter. What are the different roles that you're expected to carry? Well, you're a mom now, as well as being a wife. You're also a daughter. You might be someone's sister. You're a nurse at your work. So we have these different aspects of our lives which require different duties and obligations for us to fulfill. And what happens when these duties, when these expectations, when these roles begin to collide? Like what happens when the mom is so used to working overnight shifts, it's getting into conflict with her and her husband because he wants her to stay home longer to take care of the kid. Because her role of being a nurse is now interfering with her role of being a mom. So you can really think about this in any example. Think about your career. Think about your family. Think about your relationships, your friendships. What are the roles and obligations that we have to other people? And what happens when we fail to meet those expectations? When you're a student in college or university, what are your roles? Well, my role is to study. It's like, great. Where are you making money? Oh, well, I also work at the local bakery. So I'm also like the cashier there. That's my other role. Okay. And I have a girlfriend. All right, great. So now I'm also someone's boyfriend. And I also go play tennis. So I'm also a tennis player. So we have all of these different roles that we're trying to function simultaneously. And sometimes they're going to conflict because we only have so much time and energy. So what happens if we start failing in one role? Do most people feel happy that they're succeeding in others? No. If you're not doing good in one area of your life, unfortunately, it starts to bleed into other areas. And when it starts to bleed, it almost turns into like a domino effect where the stress and the pressure just keeps adding up. Now, the pressure could be from parents. The pressure could be from professors, from supervisors, from your partner. And one of the biggest pressures comes from ourselves. You might put an immense amount of pressure on yourself to succeed. Why? Because I owe it to my girlfriend, because I owe it to my boyfriend, because I owe it to my kid, because I owe it to my supervisor to perform to my best level in whatever role I have, even though they might not all be complementary of one another. I need to do my best. And when I don't do my best in every single role, I've let them all down. And if I've let them all down, I've let me down. That means, and here comes the labeling, I'm a bad husband. I'm a bad girlfriend. I'm a bad student. I'm a bad son. Whatever it is. And this immense pressure and stress can take a toll on your mental health. Another reason people are commonly unhappy is because of comparisons. Comparisons that we make in the physical world or in the digital world. So in the physical world, we go to school or we go to work and we see a certain employee getting a promotion that we thought we deserved. We see a certain student getting a good grade that we don't know how we got. You see a guy being interested in a girl and you're sitting there going, well, why is he not interested? What does she have that I don't have? So we compare ourselves to other people, and this comparison highlights our inadequacies. Because people take things personally and because we have our own insecurities, how many girls do you think are out there who look at a relationship between a guy and a girl and think, well, if I was just prettier, some guy would be interested in me. If I looked a certain way, if I had a certain body, if I had her hair color, if I was a little bit more outgoing, then I would have what she has. And seeing her reminds me of what I don't have. Or vice versa for a guy looking at a girl. Or a guy envying another guy who's famous, who's a celebrity, who's a star athlete. And digitally, I think this gets even worse because there's a lot of people online who virtue signal. If I go to Instagram or TikTok or YouTube and I make a video about the fact that I try to wake up every morning at the same time, or how often I take cold showers, or the fact that I work out every day, like that stuff will be met with praise. Awesome. Yeah, productivity. Get after it. Carry those boats, right? But if I also post the fact that I was up till 2 in the morning watching YouTube, and I can go to work and be very high in extroversion and then come home and not want to talk to anybody, or I like to play video games, that stuff isn't cool, right? Because it doesn't fit the whole productivity, hustle, grind. Look at me. I'm shaking hands with a homeless man. Smile for the camera. Because what does social media do? We show our best selves. Right? We make those announcement posts. Hey, look, we just got engaged. Oh my God. Feel happy for me. Do we make the same post when we break up? We're sad and we're crying. We post, Amanda's leaving me. No, we don't. And I'm not saying we should, by the way. I'm not saying even social media is a bad place because of it. But when we only see one side of the story, it gives people an illusion of reality and go, wow, look at how happy everybody is. Look at how fit these people are. Look at how much traveling my friends are doing. I'm in my 30s, so is my girlfriend or boyfriend. And look at my friends who are in our age. They're traveling and they can buy a house and they're doing all these things that I want to do. And my friend's, boyfriend just proposed to her. Why hasn't Jack proposed? So you have these constant thoughts of comparing yourself to other people, which highlights what you don't have. The next thing that stresses a lot of people out is financial worries. We talk so much about emotional well-being, mental health, the importance of fulfillment and goodness, and go out for a run and do yoga. Folks, when you're not financially doing well, everything else goes to the wasteland. It's hard to go meditate and to go do yoga when you're living paycheck to paycheck. It's hard to be grateful and be in the moment when you don't know what dinner is going to look like, or how you're going to be able to afford gas, or you can't afford to pay rent anywhere, like in any sort of apartment, so you have to live in your car, right? And then we look at that person, we say, well, we can't change society, so just practice gratitude. Have you tried going out for a walk? It's like, I'm unhappy. Well, based on your financial situation, I totally understand why. And if I was in your position, I'd be unhappy too. Because why? It's something that's not entirely in our control. We can do things. We can get educated. We can try to find a job. We can send applications. But if you don't get hired, if you don't have the money to afford to go to school, if the job that you have and the wage and the salary doesn't make up for the inflation and the cost of living, it's not all in your hands. The next thing that makes people very unhappy is lacking meaningful connections. I've seen at least 2 videos now that were titled something on YouTube. They were titled something like 25-year-old loner. And when I pressed on the video, it was essentially this guy, decent looking dude, looked friendly, and he said something like, I don't have any friends. And it was so interesting and so sad to listen to where this person was in his mid-20s, and he was openly talking about the fact that he doesn't have any friends. Maybe he had some coworkers, maybe he had some acquaintances, but no one close enough that he could feel honest with and safe and secure with, and to invite over and joke around and have a good time with. And folks, life is so hard. Life can be so tough, so anxiety-inducing, so complicated, that when we can talk to people around us, when we have people around us, relationships that bring us meaning, that bring us value, it can help alleviate a lot of that stress or anxiety or a lot of our depressing thoughts. And when we lack those relationships, that bring us fulfillment and bring us value, like, what do I do about my problems? I know that complaining is seen as a bad light, but one of the good things of complaining was you got to explain your worries to someone and go, hey, am I out of pocket here? Like, is it me? Sometimes you were, and sometimes the person's like, dude, you're not. That situation's ridiculous. Like, you're good. And that sort of communicating helped make you go, oh, okay, all right. I'm being validated. Like, I shouldn't be too hard on myself. and it helped you interact with the world better. But if you don't have those close relationships, you don't have anyone to bounce those ideas back and forth with. So you sit back thinking, like, am I the problem? Which you could be. Or is it the situation? The last thing that makes people extremely unhappy is setting unrealistic expectations. If you're a person who thinks, I'm a failure, I want you to think why. What makes you a failure? It's like, okay, here are the things that I failed in my life. Okay, what were your expectations of you? How come you failed? What were the goals? Were the goals even realistic in the first place? Because if you're sitting there telling me, I'm going to quit phone addiction, I will quit all social media apps. And it's like, okay, well, what happened? Well, I didn't go on my phone for a day, and then I cracked, and then I went on my phone and I checked all the apps. I'm a failure. Maybe your goal set you up to fail in the very beginning. Maybe you're a person who, we talked about roles and responsibilities. You're a husband or a wife. You have children. You have a full-time job. You're trying to work out every day. You're trying to start a business on the side. It's just not possible. There are too many variables at play, like the kid needing something that you didn't know they were going to need. You having to stay longer at your work than you thought you would. That are going to interfere. That'll significantly damage the chances that your goal will come to fruition. So what happens is when a goal doesn't go our way, we are so quick to go, I failed the goal, therefore I'm a failure, versus taking a step back and going, was that goal even realistic? Maybe that was just a bad goal. I don't work out at all, and I set the goal of benching 100 pounds in 2 weeks. And you've never worked out before, and like, what's your sign? That's dangerous, folks. Let alone dangerous and just flat out not a good idea. So we have to be careful that when we set goals that they're actually attainable, because if they're not, you're setting yourself up for failure. And if you want to be careful, if you want to get upset, don't get upset at yourself for not meeting the goal. You should become curious as to, why did I put the goal so high in the first place? Did I do it for me? Did I do it to impress somebody else? Did I do it because I saw other people having that goal? Did I do it because I don't have the patience? I want it quick. I want it now. Did I do it because I thought it would increase my self-esteem? So I thought I would put the goal as high as I could so I could aim for it. And then I failed. So I know this has been a very depressing video in that I've only talked about things that make us upset. I've talked about reasons why people are commonly unhappy. Here are a couple of things we can do about them. Number one, which might be the hardest thing to do, is diagnose. What is making you unhappy? And the troubling thing is, usually it ends up being multiple things. And when it's multiple things, you're overwhelmed. You're going, Daniel, I don't even know where to start. I have some stress from school. I don't have the greatest self-esteem. I love hitting my vape pen because it decreases my anxiety momentarily. I love playing video games. Maybe I do it too much. I don't know, and I don't really care. I'm not in the shape that I want to be. I hate my job. So it's like, which one of those do you start with? And what a lot of people do is they look at all those 6, they get paralysis by analysis, and they go, this is way too much. Screw it. Where's the vape pen? Where's the cigarettes? Where's the video games? Where's my way of escaping from this world? My recommendation from someone who isn't a therapist or isn't a counselor, is just a psychology student who's sharing this for educational purposes, is start with the lowest thing possible and measure your baseline. Okay, I don't floss every day. It's like, great. Can you start flossing every day? Can that be our baseline? And you might say, Daniel, no, that's too easy of a goal. It's like, well, if it's too easy, then why haven't you been doing it? If you haven't been doing it, there's clearly a disconnect. Start flossing every day, and after a week, sit there and go, okay, boom, nailed that out of the way. And what's going to happen is, as you start, I want to be careful fixing your life, orienting your life, adapting your life, changing your life to what you want to see in order to make you more happy, it's going to become easier and easier over time. That's why people often say, look, if you want to change a habit, don't go from 0 to 100. Start small. Start really, really, really small. So you figure out, what is the biggest thing that's making me unhappy? It's like, I feel really lonely. What most people are going to say, well, go out and try to meet people. But that might be too daunting. It's like, okay, well, what are some different things we could do? And the diagnosis is extremely hard. But once you have the diagnosis, the next thing becomes, can I do this on my own or do I need help? And if you need help, I would highly recommend seeing a trained professional, whether it be a therapist of sorts, a counselor, a life coach, whatever it may be. And they can provide you with some assistance and going, look, here's what I'm experiencing. I think it's because of this. Like, what do you think about this? Like, let's brainstorm together. You might not necessarily have an answer for me, but let's brainstorm from the outside looking in. What do you think about the conclusion I've come to? And the final thing you can do, and I know it doesn't sound great, I know it's not the most efficient, but it's the most practical. Trial and error. I think this is what's making me upset. Therefore, I will start doing this to counter it. You wait after a week, 10 days. Okay, do I feel happier now after I've made this change? Yes or no? And I know it sounds really simple, but that's what I'm going for. I want to go as simple, as bare bones as possible. Every day when I wake up, I go immediately on my phone for 20 minutes, and I don't feel too great. So if I wake up, and instead of going on my phone, I just don't touch it for the first 10 minutes. And I wake up, and I go to the bathroom, and I don't take my phone to the bathroom, and I come out, and I make breakfast, and I eat breakfast without looking at my phone. And then after breakfast, I'll check my phone. Would that make a difference in how happy I feel in the mornings? Let's try it. Let's try it for 7 days. And then after the 7 days, let's see if I feel happier with or without it. Diagnose. Figure out if you can do it yourself or you need some assistance. Trial and error. And when we're dealing with things that make us unhappy, we want to focus on one thing at a time, not trying to change the whole world in one afternoon. And with that mindset, I really believe if we're patient and we believe in ourselves, or what nerds call self-efficacy, you'd be surprised at the way you would change your world and change the way you interact with it.